Hello, this is Mayor Tashara Jones. I use the she, her pronouns, and welcome to our next live stream from the mayor's office. I'm excited to continue these conversations to keep the people of St. Louis updated on how our administration is doing. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge two very important occasions that are near and dear to my heart. First, happy Pride Month. On Tuesday, I participated alongside Pride STL, St. Louis Metro Trans Umbrella Group, Black Pride, and more to commemorate Pride Month and recognize the incredible members of the LGBTQ+ community here in St. Louis. Second, I'm wearing orange, or my variety of orange today, to mark National Gun Violence Awareness Day and Wear Orange Weekend for gun violence. Gun violence continues to plague our city and is a major driver of crime. Getting guns off our streets is essential to improving public safety for every neighborhood in St. Louis. I encourage everyone to participate in Wear Orange Weekend to show that the movement for gun safety is strong. Let's talk about our efforts to fight COVID-19. We do have some good news. On Thursday, not a single case of COVID-19 was reported in St. Louis. It shows St. Louis is working hard and being proactive to protect ourselves from COVID-19. Remember, if you are vaccinated, you're not required to wear a mask. However, if you have not yet been vaccinated, masks are still one of the best ways to prevent you from contracting COVID-19 until you receive both of your shots, or one if you use the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. President Joe Biden set a challenge to get 70% of American adults vaccinated by the 4th of July and declared June a month of vaccine action. Vaccines are safe, free, and effective. Are you looking to get vaccinated? Text your zip code to 438-829 to get a text back with vaccine sites near you. Visit vaccines.gov for more resources and incentives too. Are you already vaccinated? Make sure to tell your friends and family to get vaccinated as well. My whole family is vaccinated. I also have an update on vaccination numbers from the St. Louis Community Vaccine Center at the Dome, which started in April and closed this past Tuesday, June 1st. The FEMA Vaccine Delivery Organization, or FEMA, delivered 44,162 shots in arms over the course of the past 2 months. We are so grateful for their hard work to get so many St. Louisans vaccinated. Even though more people are getting vaccinated, it's important to remember this pandemic is not over, and we must still take precautions and respect each other's choices to continue wearing masks. If you have not gotten vaccinated yet, I encourage you to do so to protect yourself and your families. Stay tuned for more educational efforts from the city to make sure residents understand the importance of getting vaccinated. Now, let's talk about how our city is planning to spend the federal COVID-19 relief funds. COVID-19 has left St. Louis at a crossroads. The crisis has exposed the deep fault lines in our city along racial and economic lines, as Black and brown communities faced a disproportionate impact from the virus. We now have the opportunity to right historic wrongs with a massive influx of investment from the Biden administration. Our city is on track to receive more than $500 million from the American Rescue Plan Act. It is imperative we distribute these funds with community input to maximize the transformational impact this opportunity represents. I convened the Stimulus Advisory Board, composed of elected and community leaders, to help put together a plan to ensure these investments yield long-term results for communities across St. Louis. I also asked the public for their input on how these funds should be invested in almost 2,500 St. Louis residents, nearly 1% of the city's population, sent in their ideas. Last Friday, the city received its first payment of $249 million from the federal government. Based on the discussions of the board and your public feedback, we drafted a framework to provide direct relief with $68 million to the people of the city of St. Louis as quickly as possible. These direct relief funds must be spent before the opportunity to use them expires. As such, we posted a draft of the framework for the public to review as soon as it was complete and invited community input. The board spent hundreds of hours examining key areas and policies to help put St. Louis back on the path to recovery and invest in the neighborhoods hardest hit by COVID-19. From rental assistance and mortgage assistance to expanding access to the internet, from youth job programming to direct economic assistance and small business support, we want to use these funds to address the full scope of the COVID-19 crisis as well as decades of disinvestment. This plan also includes policies to address critical health needs with mobile vaccine clinics and community canvases to educate residents about the importance of getting vaccinated. The people closest to the problem are closest to the solution, and no one knows their communities better than the people who live and work in them. So last night, the Stimulus Advisory Board held its first listening session to hear feedback from residents about the proposed framework. It was great to see so many people stay engaged with their city government throughout this process. This listening session was the next step of many to engage the people of St. Louis around how we prioritize these federal dollars. I want to thank the Stimulus Advisory Board for their hard work and for all the people who've shared their feedback and ideas. The Stimulus Advisory Board will submit their final proposal on Saturday, June 12th. I also want to emphasize, their final proposal is not the final plan. The final proposal must ultimately be approved by the Board of Aldermen and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, meaning there may be some changes in the final version. We'll continue to keep you updated. Next, let's talk about development updates. As I've said many times, the goal of my administration is to be an active partner and a strong negotiator around development incentives. I strongly believe that development is something that happens with communities, not to them. I have two exciting updates that brings our city closer to these goals. First, earlier this week, my administration announced a renegotiated TIF proposal with 17 Ward Alderwoman Tina Peel and the developers of the City Foundry. The new proposal includes a pledge from the developer to allocate $1.8 million towards the St. Louis Affordable Housing Trust Fund. When we talk about ensuring development benefits more than just the Central Corridor, this is exactly what we're talking about. You've heard me say this before. We're not a poor city, we are a cheap city, which is why we will continue to negotiate development incentives that help direct funds to neighborhoods and communities that have faced disinvestment for decades. I'm also excited to announce the nomination of Neil Richardson to head the St. Louis Development Corporation as its executive director. Neil has a wealth of experience working to support our children and in disinvestment communities through his work with U.S. Bank CDC, as well as Dream Builders for Equity, and much, much more. This new appointment to the SLDC and successful negotiations with the Foundry developers illustrates our commitment to be that active partner in development to ensure that these projects benefit everyone in our city, no matter your zip code or your neighborhood. Let's talk for a moment about public safety downtown. On Wednesday, my administration and I had a listening session with the residents and business owners of downtown St. Louis. They expressed their concerns with us around illegal and dangerous behavior, including speeding, gunfire, drunk and disorderly conduct, and more. There are plans that the city already has invested in to deal with the traffic concerns and downtown safety, and those are definitely on the table. But it's important that we are also continuously engaging with the people most impacted by the decisions we make. I appreciate the concerns shared with our team on Wednesday, and we will continue to engage as we work to make our downtown and all other communities safer for everyone to live, work, and play. I also want to touch briefly on how Republicans in the legislature continue to undermine our city. Earlier this week, Republicans in Jefferson City attempted another attack on the right of our city and voters to make our own budgetary decisions, just as they have done when they took away our minimum wage increase or severely limited our ability to enact common sense gun laws. Republicans on the outskirts of St. Louis are trying to tell us what's best for our city. Let's be clear. With the support of the police chief and the public safety director, we are reallocating $4 million from police positions that have been vacant for more than a decade to other critical services to support law enforcement so our police can focus on their job, solving and preventing violent crime to make St. Louis safer for everyone. Representative Nick Schroer and his crew are out chasing clout while I'm chasing solutions to the root causes of crime: poverty, housing instability, food and bank deserts, and much more. We don't have time for politicians who don't even live here to be beating up on St. Louis and attacking the people of our city to score cheap political points. Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas and I are working together to combat this attack on local control and the voices of our constituents. We extend invitations to Representative Schroer and his colleagues to visit our respective cities and see the direct impact this investment has had on our neighborhoods, especially in predominantly Black and brown communities. We haven't seen any response yet, but we'll keep you updated. And I'm willing to work with any elected leader across the state who wants to have a real discussion about how we transform public safety in our cities. I also want to highlight a few key appointments. Since our last live stream, we have reappointed many key appointees across city government so they can continue to do great work. Starting with Affordable Housing Director April Griffin, Assessor Mike Dauphin, BPS Director Richard Bradley, Parks Director Greg Hayes, Planning and Development Director Don Rowe, Public Utilities Curtis Scooby, Airports Director Rhonda Ham-Nibrugi. On that note, the city is looking for summer hires. We have great jobs that pay $15 an hour and are open to anyone age 16 and up. Come be a lifeguard, a recreation assistant, or utility worker to help keep our city clean and beautiful and safe for everyone to enjoy. Visit stlouis-mo.gov/jobs to apply. We're also still accepting applications for some important positions in my administration, so visit tashara4mayor.com/jobs to see what's still open. And lastly, we have some exciting events coming up this month. This Sunday, I'll be joining our LGBTQ+ family for their Pride Caravan at noon, which will circle areas of South, Central, and North City. I hope you can join us and watch and celebrate. I also signed a proclamation in support of Africans Rising Together 2063 in their Caribbean Heritage Walkathon on Juneteenth, Saturday, June 19th in Forest Park. I hope you'll join them and the many other organizations for their Juneteenth celebrations. And don't forget, this year is the first year we will recognize Juneteenth as a municipal holiday. City Hall will be closed on June 18th. I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us today, submitted questions, and remained engaged in local government. We appreciate your patience, your grace, and your accountability while we continue to grow this administration and make decisions that we believe will make our city stronger and safer for everyone. Thank you. And now, we'll take some questions.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's start with about what small businesses can look forward to in terms of support with direct relief.
So if you go to the mayor's website, on the city website, you can look up the People's Plan for Recovery, and you'll find a document that details everything that we talked about on last night's hearing, and you'll find detailed tables to what direct relief is going where.
Thank you. We do have a few questions about drugs in the city and rehabilitation. How can we be proactive about the issue with addiction within the city?
Well, one of the changes I made to the budget is to add more social workers and also to partner with more local organizations who are already doing this work. So hopefully after June 30th, when when the next fiscal year budget goes into play, we'll be able to hire those social workers and have them increased outreach to our communities to help them with drug issues.
Thank you.
Oh, and also there's a sobering center that's going to open soon. We'll have more details on that as well.
Wonderful. We also have some questions about vacant buildings. Can you speak on what efforts are currently underway as well as what we might be able to see in the future?
So on vacant buildings, we have a couple of things going on. So we recently passed Prop NS, which is the Vacancy Collaborative. They're going to be working with the property tax that has been increased to make sure that we can fix up vacant buildings, or also if they cannot be fixed up, to make sure that they're safely removed. Also, Operation Clean Sweep, which is paid for by the Regional Business Council, is going to start working with developers to make sure that the buildings that they are removing, the vacancies that they're removing, are in conjunction with any existing developments around town.
Wonderful. Let's see. We've talked about affordable housing, but in your mind, what are some of the best practices to support people who want to seek home ownership?
Some of the best practices I've seen about people who want to do home ownership. Well, first, we need to make sure your credit is in check. So we encourage you to contact the Treasurer's Office and the Operation Hope Counselor, Reginald Garth, and make sure that your credit is on par for you to apply, because that's the first step in making sure that you can apply for, or if you want to increase home ownership. Also, the Treasurer's Office, that particular HUD office, is going through the process to be a national or a certified HUD counselor, which means that they'll be able to help you through the entire home buying process. There are also many financial institutions across our city, small banks and big banks, and credit unions that can help you with down payment assistance, help you with closing costs. So we list a lot of those on the Office of Financial Empowerment's website. So for more information, you can go to stlofe.org.
Let's see. Looking for questions. The appointees that you mentioned, will they be evaluated on a regular basis to determine if they are performing to your standard? It's a good question.
Yes, absolutely. I come from HR. I have a background in HR management, actually have my certificate from good old UMSL. And one of the things that I did when I got in the Treasurer's Office was made sure that we had a continual and objective evaluation process. So we're going to bring that process hopefully over to the mayor's office. But I think the biggest way to figure out if they're working is if they're working for you. Are your services being delivered in a timely and equitable manner? So please let us know, hold us accountable.
There's a question about the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Can you speak on that?
What's the question?
It's will it be reopened?
So I don't know if we have an Office of Diversity and Inclusion, but there are plans to hire a deputy mayor for racial equity and community engagement. And so if you know any great applicants, send them our way at tasharafrommayor.com/jobs.
Let's see. What is planned to support the unhoused as the eviction moratorium expires?
That's a great question. So again, if you go to the People's Plan for Economic Recovery, we have allocated at least $12 million to rent, mortgage, and utility assistance, and you'll see the information in that plan. And also, if you have something now that you need, you can go to the Department of Human Services website and fill out the application for rent and utility assistance.
Jumping back to the mention of the appointments, how long are the cabinet positions appointed for?
The cabinet serves at the pleasure of the mayor.
Easy enough. Great. And then we do have a few comments on the investment in public safety. We've talked a lot about where our new budget is going. Can you speak more about how those new measures address public safety?
Yes, so in cities across this country, we've seen investments in more social workers and deploying the right professional to the right call. And that's what this budget is going to do. The $4 million that we took from vacant positions. Now, let me clarify. No current police officer is going to lose their job through the changes that we made. And we still have several applicants and cadets coming through our academies. So there is some natural attrition that's going to happen. And we have more police officers per capita than any other city our size. And it's about making sure that we are effectively deploying the resources we currently have. The changes that we made to the budget are going to help police officers to do their jobs that they were trained to do in our academies, and so we can deploy the right professional to the right call.
Wonderful. And then if you do have an answer to this, do you know of any city boards that still have open seats?
I think there are city boards that have open seats, and you can find those on the mayor's website as well under boards and commissions.
Wonderful. Let's see. Let me check. Can you reiterate one more time the timeline for the budget, both for the direct relief as well as the additional funding from the federal government?
So the budget is currently making its way through the Board of Aldermen, and we expect to receive that back maybe in a couple of weeks through the Board of E&A. We will amend that budget bill with the $68 million direct relief package that I talked about earlier, and then hopefully it will be passed and go into effect by July 1st. And so we'll start the implementation process and making sure that we get this direct relief out in the community as soon as possible.
Okay, last one. Can we expect an update on recommendations made in the Teneo report?
So right now, our public safety director and chief are reviewing the Teneo report, and I expect them to give me an update on the recommendations that they would like to implement as soon as they have reviewed it.
And then last thing, where can people contact us if they have ideas in general about the city, about the funding from the federal government? What is the best place to send them to?
The best place to send them is to go to the city's website at stlewis-mo.gov. Look up the mayor's page, and there are places there to contact us and submit your comments and questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.